The story begins in the heart of a grand galactic council. High above a distant planet, the Exivarians, a proud and technologically advanced alien race, gather on their sleek space station to discuss the future of the galaxy. These aliens, known for their sharp minds and unrivaled technology, are sitting comfortably in their meeting room, surrounded by holograms of their past victories. They are at the top of their game, ruling over countless worlds with ease. Among the holograms, Earth flickers in the background, an insignificant blue planet filled with what the Exivarians consider primitive creatures. One of the council members sneers, laughing at the humans and dismissing them as a primitive species that has no place in the greater galactic community. "They're nothing but a footnote in the universe," he says, his voice dripping with disdain. "What could they possibly contribute? We have wiped out countless civilizations more advanced than they could ever dream to be." The rest of the council members chuckle in agreement, their arrogance filling the room. As the laughter echoes through the chamber, the Exivarians turn their attention back to their most recent conquest, a small, weak planet they had easily subdued. But their thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a shrill alarm. The room darkens and the images flicker. A new, urgent message appears. A distress signal has been intercepted from one of their outer colonies. The signal is garbled, filled with static and panic, but one thing is clear. The colony is under attack, and the attackers are far stronger than anything the Exivarians have ever faced before. The message shows the desperate voices of Exivarian soldiers as they describe the invaders as relentless, swift, and merciless. The Exivarians' once unbeatable empire is now on the brink of destruction. The colonists' plea for help is ignored by the council as they try to assess the severity of the attack. The Exivarians are used to being in control. They've conquered civilizations far more powerful than humans, and their pride has led them to underestimate the strength of other species. But this new enemy is different. As the council debates what to do, a sense of unease starts to spread. The invaders seem to possess technology that far exceeds anything the Exivarians have ever encountered, and their weapons are unlike anything seen in the galaxy. It's clear, the Exivarians are in over their heads. On Earth, meanwhile, the situation is completely different. As news of the Exivarian attack spreads across the planet, humanity's military leaders and strategists quickly assemble to assess the threat. Among them is Alex, a brilliant and daring human strategist. As he listens to reports from the front lines, he sees an opportunity for humanity to prove its worth. The Exivarians have made a grave mistake in underestimating Earth, and Alex knows this is their chance to rise above the shadows of the galaxy. Alex begins a secret mission to form an alliance with the Exivarians. He sends a message to the Exivarian general, Ileana, offering humanity's help in their fight against the unknown invaders. "We may be weak in comparison to you, but we have the heart and the ingenuity to help," Alex writes. "In exchange, we ask only one thing, your protection. We need your help to defend our home." He sends the message in the hope that the Exivarians, realizing they are not as invincible as they once believed, will accept humanity's offer. But the Exivarians are still confident in their superiority, and they reject Alex's proposal without a second thought. "Humans are no threat to us," says the council leader, brushing off the idea of an alliance. "We've fought entire wars against beings far more powerful than these invaders. We don't need your help." The message is cold, dismissive, and arrogant. Still, the Exivarians remain cautious, knowing that the invaders' power is unlike anything they've encountered before. As the alien threat grows stronger, the Exivarians' confidence begins to waver. The once untouchable empire is crumbling, and the council begins to panic. They've fought wars and wiped out entire civilizations before, but this enemy is different. As they prepare to face the invaders head-on, a small skirmish breaks out between human ships and the unknown alien invaders. Humanity's first move comes as a surprise. With a few newly developed cloaking devices, human ships manage to sneak past the invaders' defenses. The cloaked ships take the invaders by surprise, launching an unexpected attack on a scout ship. The invaders, caught off guard, are forced to retreat, giving the humans a small victory. The battle is over quickly, and the humans return to their base unharmed, but the success of their mission sends ripples through the HFY Council. They begin to question whether the humans may be more capable than they had thought. For the first time, the HFYians are forced to reconsider their opinion of humanity. Maybe they aren't the weak and primitive species they once believed them to be. This unexpected victory sparks interest in the HFYians. The Council, once so dismissive of humanity, now starts to take notice of the humans' ingenuity and tactical brilliance. Eliana, the HFYian general who had been most vocal in rejecting Alex's offer, begins to quietly investigate the humans' capabilities. She is intrigued by their resilience and their unexpected success against the invaders. Perhaps there is more to humanity than meets the eye. As the alien invaders prepare for another wave of attacks, the humans continue to prove their worth. They may not have the advanced technology of the HFYians, but they have something the HFYians do not: resourcefulness and determination. In the coming days, Alex and Eliana will find their paths crossing again, this time under far more urgent and dangerous circumstances. But the question remains, will the HFYians swallow their pride and accept humanity's help, or will they continue to ignore the rising threat until it's too late? The tension between the two species is palpable. The HFYians may have the technology and the power, but the humans have something that can't be measured by technology alone: the will to fight for their survival. As the invasion draws nearer, the stage is set for a dramatic and thrilling showdown, with the fate of both Earth and the HFYian Empire hanging in the balance. In this moment of rising tension, humanity stands at the edge of the unknown, and the HFYians are faced with the possibility of losing everything they hold dear. Will the alliance that Alex is trying to forge become humanity's greatest strength, or will the HFYians' arrogance lead to their downfall? The answer lies in the actions of both sides in the coming days. The countdown to war has begun. Alex stood in the command center, staring at the holographic map that stretched out before him. It was a map of Earth, the planet he had sworn to protect. His fingers hovered over the controls as he zoomed in on the projected battlefield. The HFYians, despite their technological superiority, had been unable to fend off the alien invaders. It was now up to humanity to intervene, to prove that Earth was worth saving. But there was a problem. Alex knew they needed the HFYians' help. Without their resources and power, humanity would never be able to defend itself against the relentless enemy. Alex was a young military strategist, one of the brightest minds Earth had ever produced. He had never known the luxury of advanced weapons or the vast fleets of ships the HFYians boasted. Instead, he relied on creativity, resourcefulness, and the sheer willpower of the human spirit. His leadership was what made him stand out in a world desperate for a solution. He wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting to prove that humanity had value in the galactic community. He had watched the HFYians dismiss humanity as weak and insignificant, and his frustration boiled over. Earth was on the brink of extinction, and if the HFYians didn't step in, all would be lost. But how could he make them understand? How could he get them to see past their arrogance and offer humanity the protection it desperately needed? That's when the idea struck him. Alex knew the only way forward was to make them an offer they couldn't refuse. He sent a direct message to General Eliana, the HFYian leader who had been skeptical of humanity from the very beginning. She was known for her fierceness in battle and her unyielding pride in her species' superiority. But Alex wasn't afraid. His message was clear and direct. "We know that the invaders are a threat to us all." Alex's voice crackled through the transmission. "But we have something that could tip the scales in our favor. Humanity may not have the advanced technology you do, but we have the heart to fight and the ingenuity to turn the tide. We can help you in the war. In return, we ask only one thing: your protection. Earth is vulnerable, and we need your strength to survive. Together, we can defeat this enemy." Aliana listened to the message, her expression unreadable. The offer seemed both desperate and daring. She had no doubt that the humans would be a valuable asset in the war, but her pride stood in the way. She had always believed that the Exaverians were the only true power in the galaxy. How could she trust a race she had long considered beneath her? She had no reason to believe Alex's words, but as she stared at the message, a flicker of doubt crept into her mind. Could the humans be more than they appeared? Days passed, and Alex anxiously awaited a response. Meanwhile, the situation grew more dire. The alien invaders were growing bolder, and Earth's forces were struggling to keep up. Alex couldn't afford to wait any longer. He had to act, and he had to act fast. But even as the pressure mounted, something unexpected happened. During a small but brutal battle on Earth's outskirts, Alex lost someone he never expected to lose. Bonner, his closest friend and a fellow soldier, was killed in the heat of combat. It happened in an instant. One moment, Bonner was there, fighting alongside him, and the next, he was gone. A blast from an enemy ship hit their position, and Bonner was caught in the explosion. Alex had seen the carnage of war before, but losing Bonner hit him harder than anything. Bonner had been his mentor, his confidant, his brother in arms. They had shared countless battles together, and now Alex was forced to face the fact that his friend was never coming back. The weight of Bonner's death hung heavy on Alex's shoulders. It wasn't just the loss of a friend. It was the reminder of the sacrifices humanity was making every day. Each death, each lost soldier, was a blow to the hope that Alex was fighting for. But Bonner's death also fueled his determination. He knew that if they didn't succeed, more would die. The stakes had never been higher, and Alex had to push forward, no matter the cost. In the wake of Bonner's death, Alex sent a message to General Aliana once again, this time with a different tone. It wasn't just about strategy anymore. It was about something deeper. He spoke of the sacrifices humanity had already made, the lives lost in their struggle for survival. "You think we are weak, but we fight with everything we have." Alex's voice echoed in the transmission. "Bonner gave his life to protect his people, and I will do the same. We don't ask for your pity. We ask for your help." Back on the Tavarian side, General Aliana was facing her own crisis. One of her top commanders, Varric, had been killed in an unexpected attack by the invaders. Varric was a loyal officer, a veteran of countless battles, and his loss shook Aliana to her core. It wasn't just the death of a soldier, it was the collapse of a pillar in her defense strategy. Varric's death left a hole in the Exaverian ranks that no one could easily fill. For the first time, Aliana began to question her loyalty to the Exaverian Empire. Her empire had always been her greatest pride. The Exaverians had conquered worlds, wiped out enemies with ease, and ruled with an iron fist. But now, as she stood over Varric's fallen body, Aliana couldn't help but wonder if the Exaverians had been too proud, too blinded by their own sense of superiority. She had always believed that the galaxy belonged to the strongest, but now she realized that strength alone wouldn't win the war. The Exaverians needed allies, and they needed them fast. Aliana's doubts grew, and as she contemplated the loss of Varric, she thought about Alex's offer once more. Could humanity really be the key to turning the tide? Could the humans, with their creativity and determination, offer something that the Exaverians couldn't? She was torn. Her pride told her to reject the offer, but the reality of the war forced her to reconsider. The Exaverians could not win this alone. As Aliana stood in the midst of her grief and doubt, she received Alex's latest message. This time, she could hear the weight of his words, the raw emotion behind them. It wasn't just about strategy. It was about survival, about sacrifice, about the future of two species on the brink of extinction. In that moment, Aliana understood. She had lost something she couldn't replace, just as Alex had. Perhaps it was time to listen to the humans. The stage was set for the first face-to-face meeting between Alex and Eliana. Two leaders, both grieving, both desperate, both struggling with the weight of responsibility. The war would bring them together, but the question remained, could they put aside their differences and form an alliance that would save them both? The fate of their worlds hung in the balance. As the galaxy braced for the coming storm, the connection between Alex and Eliana was beginning to take root, not through their differences, but through their shared losses. The first step toward an alliance had been taken, but would it be enough to change the course of history? The tension between the Exaverians and humans was palpable. It had only been a few days since Alex and Eliana met, and while the conversation between the two leaders had been productive, the real challenge was just beginning. The Exaverians were still deeply uncertain about humanity's abilities. They had watched Alex's tactical brilliance, heard his plans, and seen the sacrifices that the human forces had made, but there was a lingering doubt. The Exaverians were technologically superior in almost every aspect, yet they lacked the kind of strategic thinking that Alex brought to the table. The Exaverians had the power, but humanity had something else, a spark of creativity that had allowed them to survive when all odds seemed against them. However, the Exaverians were used to solving problems with overwhelming firepower, not with clever tactics and innovation. Even as Alex and Eliana stood side by side, it was clear that they didn't fully trust each other. Alex, although hopeful, knew that the Exaverians needed more proof of humanity's value in this war. To bridge the gap, Alex took matters into his own hands. He began training a small but elite human task force in advanced Exaverian combat techniques. The task force was outfitted with the latest Exaverian technology, including eye-controlled drones and cloaking devices. While humans had never had the luxury of such powerful tools before, Alex was determined to prove that their creativity and quick thinking could be just as effective as the brute force that the Exaverians relied on. The task force practiced every day, refining their skills and learning how to fight like the Exaverians. They became experts in stealth, moving silently through the battlefield with the help of the cloaking technology. The eye-controlled drones provided them with a level of precision and intelligence that they had never experienced before. Alex was constantly adjusting their strategies, finding new ways to make the most of these advanced tools. The humans had always excelled in improvisation, and now, with access to cutting-edge technology, they were able to combine their natural instincts with the Exaverians' power to create something truly formidable. Meanwhile, the war raged on. The alien invaders, despite their advanced weapons and relentless tactics, had underestimated the humans, thinking them to be weak and unworthy of notice. But that assumption was about to change. The invaders had launched a devastating surprise attack on an Exaverian outpost located on the outskirts of their empire. The outpost was essential for the Exaverians' defense, and its loss would mean a significant blow to their power. As the invaders began their attack, they expected an easy victory, but they hadn't anticipated the presence of humans. With the Exaverians caught off guard and their outpost under heavy siege, Alex saw an opportunity to prove the value of humanity once and for all. He immediately deployed his task force, fully equipped with cloaking devices and their new combat skills. The humans used their guerrilla tactics to strike quickly and decisively. They appeared and vanished, always staying one step ahead of the invaders. The eye-controlled drones, under the command of the humans, gave them vital intelligence about the enemy's movements, allowing them to attack with precision. The surprise attack was a success. The invaders, unable to adapt to the humans' unconventional tactics, were driven back. The Exaverians, who had initially doubted the humans, watched in awe as the small human force managed to turn the tide. The once certain invaders were now the ones on the defensive, and it was clear that humanity had proven its worth. As the battle ended and the dust settled, the Exaverians were left in stunned silence. The humans had done what they had promised, fought with ingenuity, bravery, and a deep understanding of strategy. Alex, covered in dirt and sweat, stood tall, a small smile crossing his face. It was a victory, but it was only the beginning. The humans had earned the Xaverians' respect, but there was still much work to be done. For Eliana, watching the humans in action had been a turning point. As a leader, she had always relied on raw power, but now she was beginning to see the value in Alex's approach. She had always been skeptical of humanity's capabilities, but seeing their success firsthand made her question everything she thought she knew about them. It wasn't just their technology that impressed her. It was their ability to think outside the box, to make the most of whatever they had, and to fight with a level of determination that was unmatched. The two leaders were now forced to face the reality of their alliance. The war had only just begun, and there was much more at stake than either of them had imagined. They needed to trust each other, to work together as one united front, or they would both fall. The Xaverians' technology and the humans' ingenuity made for a powerful combination, but there was still one major hurdle they needed to overcome: their differences. As Alex and Eliana's first joint mission approached, the stakes were higher than ever. They were tasked with infiltrating an enemy base, one that was heavily fortified and protected by some of the most advanced alien technology. The mission was dangerous, and both leaders knew that failure was not an option. The two of them would need to rely on each other completely, or they would both pay the ultimate price. The mission began under the cover of darkness. Alex and Eliana led their teams into the heart of enemy territory, moving with precision and purpose. The cloaking devices allowed them to slip past the enemy's defenses unnoticed, but they knew that the moment they were spotted, all hell would break loose. The tension was thick as they crept closer to their target. As they reached the enemy base, they encountered resistance. The invaders had set up heavy defenses, but the humans' guerrilla tactics and the Xaverians' advanced weapons made them a formidable force. The battle was intense, full of fast-paced action and close-quarters combat. Blasters fired, drones zipped through the air, and explosions rocked the ground. Eliana and Alex fought side by side, their movements synchronized as if they had known each other for years. The mission was everything they had trained for, and there was no room for mistakes. At one point, the two of them found themselves in a tight spot. They were cornered by a group of heavily armed invaders, their weapons aimed at the two leaders. For a moment, it seemed like all hope was lost. But then, in a flash of brilliance, Alex ordered his drone to create a distraction, allowing them to escape the trap. They fought their way through the base, determined to complete their mission. In the final moments of the battle, as the base began to crumble around them, Eliana couldn't help but feel a surge of respect for Alex. The human had saved her life more than once during the mission, using tactics that she hadn't even considered. He had proven that his tactical genius was unmatched. She knew then that humanity was not just a temporary ally. It was a force to be reckoned with. By the time they emerged victorious, the alliance between the Xaverians and the humans was solidified. They had faced the enemy together, fought side by side, and earned each other's trust. Eliana looked at Alex, her earlier skepticism gone. The humans had proved themselves, and she now saw them as equals, partners in the fight for survival. Together, they would face the invaders, united by a common goal, and ready to take on whatever came next. The war had escalated to unimaginable levels. What started as a series of small battles now threatened the very survival of humanity. The invaders, relentless and cold, had set their sights on Earth. They were about to launch an all-out assault, intending to bombard Earth's major cities from orbit. The stakes had never been higher, and the future of the planet rested on the shoulders of Alex, Eliana, and their combined forces. The Xaverians, with their advanced technology, and the humans, with their ingenuity and willpower, were the last line of defense. Together, they had become a formidable force, but the war had only just begun. The enemy's fleet loomed large in the skies, a terrifying presence that threatened to overwhelm everything in its path. The invaders' ships, sleek and deadly, moved with precision. They were preparing for a coordinated orbital bombardment that would obliterate major cities across the globe. The countdown to destruction was ticking, and every moment counted. It was a race against time, and only a united effort between humans and Severians could stop the impending devastation. Alex and Eliana, now seasoned leaders, knew what had to be done. They gathered their respective forces and coordinated a plan of attack. It was a high-risk operation, but it was their only chance. They would have to use both human creativity and Exaverian firepower to counter the invaders' overwhelming assault. With the fate of Earth hanging in the balance, they led the charge into space, preparing for the most intense battle of their lives. The battle began with a fury unlike anything Alex had ever seen. The Exaverians deployed their advanced warships, engaging the invaders with precision strikes. The humans, equipped with cloaking devices and their newly acquired weapons, darted through the chaos, targeting vulnerable spots in the enemy's fleet. The space above Earth became a war zone, filled with flashes of gunfire, explosions, and the roar of engines as fighters zoomed through space at breakneck speeds. It was a dogfight, with both sides maneuvering skillfully in an attempt to gain the upper hand. Alex was in the thick of it, his fighter zipping through enemy fire as he worked in sync with the Exaverians. His thoughts were clear and focused. He had to protect Earth, no matter the cost. The strategy was simple: hit the invaders where it hurt, keep them off balance, and prevent them from completing the orbital bombardment. But the invaders were powerful, and their numbers were overwhelming. The pressure mounted with every passing minute, and Alex knew that failure was not an option. As the battle raged on, Eliana and Alex worked seamlessly together, their movements almost synchronized. Eliana's Kyverian warship, equipped with cutting-edge technology, was a force to be reckoned with. Meanwhile, Alex led a squadron of human ships, using every advantage to outmaneuver the enemy. The humans, though outgunned, relied on their ability to think on their feet. They used cloaking devices to get in close, surprising the enemy and striking with precision. It was a calculated risk, but the humans had no other choice. But in war, no plan survives contact with the enemy. The invaders launched a devastating counterattack, forcing both the Exaverians and the humans into retreat. The skies above Earth lit up with explosions as enemy ships targeted human and Exaverian vessels alike. For every victory, there was a loss, and the toll was beginning to mount. Human and Exaverian ships were being destroyed at an alarming rate, and despite their best efforts, the invaders continued to push forward. Amidst the chaos, Alex's mind was set on one thing: revenge. Bonner, his closest friend and a key member of his task force, had died in the earlier battles. The loss was personal, and it weighed heavily on Alex. Bonner had been a symbol of everything that humanity stood for: brave, selfless, and determined. The pain of losing him was like a fire that burned deep within Alex's soul, fueling his desire to keep fighting. Bonner's death was not in vain, and Alex swore to himself that he would make the invaders pay for every life they had taken. But the battle was far from over. As the invaders moved closer to Earth, Alex's squadron faced yet another difficult decision. The remaining forces would have to make a sacrifice, one that could change the course of the war. Alex, now in command of his team, had a difficult choice to make. To stop the enemy's orbital bombardment, they would need to destroy the invaders' flagship, the heart of their assault. It was a near impossible task, and the chances of survival were slim. Yet, Alex knew that this was the only way to save Earth. With the decision made, Alex and his squadron pushed forward, knowing that the odds were against them. The invaders' flagship was heavily protected, surrounded by a swarm of enemy fighters and defensive systems. But Alex had always believed in the power of surprise. The humans had proven time and time again that they could overcome even the greatest of odds. It was no different now. With Eliana's guidance, they devised a plan to infiltrate the flagship and deliver a crippling blow to the invaders' command center. The plan was set in motion. Alex led the charge, his fighter darting through a hail of enemy fire. His heart raced as the flagship grew larger in front of him. He could see the lights on the enemy ship flicker, the power of its weapons primed for destruction. His team followed closely behind, using their cloaking devices to remain undetected as they approached their target. But the closer they got, the more dangerous the mission became. The flagship's defenses were formidable, and it wouldn't be long before they were detected. In the heat of the moment, tragedy struck again. Alex's fighter was hit, and he was forced to make an emergency landing on the flagship. His squadron, now scattered and under fire, fought desperately to cover him. The emotional weight of the situation pressed heavily on Alex's shoulders. He had to succeed, not just for Earth, but for Bonner, for the fallen comrades, and for the future of humanity. Eliana, sensing the dire situation, led a counterattack, buying Alex the time he needed to reach the flagship's core. As the invader's ship loomed over Earth, it felt as though time itself had slowed. Alex fought through the ship's defenses, determined to finish what he had started. Each step he took brought him closer to the heart of the enemy, and with each step, the memories of those he had lost fueled his resolve. Finally, Alex reached the core, and with a final defiant act of heroism, he destroyed the invaders' flagship, crippling their forces and halting the bombardment. The victory was hard-won, but it came at a great cost. Many lives had been lost, and the emotional toll on Alex and his team was overwhelming. As the remaining invaders retreated, the humans and Severians stood victorious. But the price of that victory was etched deep in their hearts. In the aftermath of the battle, Alex stood on the deck of a Siverian warship, looking out at the silent expanse of space. Earth had been saved, but the sacrifices made to achieve that victory would never be forgotten. Bonner's death, the loss of countless soldiers, and the memories of those who had given everything for the cause weighed heavily on him. Yet despite the pain, there was a sense of hope. Humanity had proven itself to be a force that could stand tall against the greatest of odds. And as long as there were people like Alex, Earth's future was in good hands. The war between the humans and the alien invaders had reached its climax. The stakes were higher than ever before, and every battle, every moment, had led to this one final showdown. Earth's future depended on the courage of a few individuals, including Alex and Eliana, who had come to trust and rely on each other despite their differences. The fate of humanity was in their hands, and the last mission was the most dangerous and ambitious one yet. In the final days of the war, the alien invaders had launched a full-scale attack on Earth. Their mothership, a massive vessel that served as the heart of their operation, loomed over the planet like a shadow of doom. The invaders had been relentless, pushing humanity to the brink of extinction. But the alliance between the humans and the Severians had given humanity a fighting chance. The Severians, with their advanced technology, and the humans, with their ingenuity and resolve, had fought side by side, slowly gaining ground against the invaders. Yet despite their combined efforts, the invaders' mothership remained an impenetrable fortress. Alex knew that if they were to have any hope of defeating the invaders once and for all, they had to infiltrate the mothership and destroy its command center. It was a mission that had almost no chance of success, but Alex had learned to trust in his instincts and his team. This mission would require not only human resourcefulness, but also the most advanced technology that the Severians had at their disposal. Together, they would launch a counterattack that could either turn the tide of the war or seal their doom. The plan was set in motion, and Alex and Eliana led the charge. Their combined forces, humans equipped with advanced cloaking devices and AI-controlled drones, and Severians armed with the most sophisticated weaponry, formed a force unlike any other. As they approached the mothership, the sheer size and scale of the enemy ship left no room for doubt. It was a monstrous vessel, bristling with weapons and heavily guarded. Any attempt to breach its defenses would be met with certain death. But Alex and Eliana had a plan. Using the Severian cloaking technology, they managed to sneak past the outer defenses of the mothership, Their approach was quiet, calculated, and precise. They knew that once they reached the command center, all hell would break loose. But for the first time, Alex felt a sense of calm. He had been through so much already, and he was prepared to see this mission through, no matter the cost. They had already lost so much, and now this was their only shot at ending the war. As they infiltrated the mothership's interior, they encountered fierce resistance. Alien soldiers and AI robots flooded the halls, attacking on sight. The battle was intense, the air thick with tension and gunfire. Explosions rang out as human soldiers clashed with the invaders, while Xaverian technology worked in tandem to unleash devastating counterattacks. The walls of the mothership seemed to shake with every blast, and the lights flickered in the chaos. The sounds of war echoed through the corridors, but Alex and Eliana pressed forward, determined to reach their goal. In one corridor, a wave of enemy soldiers cornered Alex and his team. The invaders, though technologically advanced, had underestimated the humans' ability to fight back. Alex, leading the charge, used his strategic brilliance to outmaneuver the enemy. His team of soldiers, though outnumbered, fought with unmatched bravery, using the environment to their advantage. They ducked behind cover, used their cloaking technology to surprise the invaders, and fired with precision. The battle was fierce, but the humans were holding their ground, and every victory brought them closer to their goal. Meanwhile, Eliana fought alongside Alex, her Xaverian combat skills a perfect complement to his human ingenuity. Her strength, her speed, and her advanced weaponry made her a formidable ally. Alex watched as she dispatched enemy soldiers with deadly precision. She was a true warrior, and in this moment, she had proven herself to be as dedicated to this cause as he was. Despite their differences, human and Xaverian, Alex had come to respect her as both a leader and a fighter. As they moved deeper into the mothership, they finally reached the heart of the command center. It was a massive high-tech structure filled with alien computers and screens displaying data that Alex couldn't even begin to understand. But there was no time to waste. They had to destroy the mothership's core, or the invaders would continue their relentless assault. Alex, with his military expertise, had devised a plan to plant explosive charges in critical locations throughout the command center. It was a risky move, but there was no other option. The countdown to the explosion began, and the tension in the air was palpable. As the team planted the charges, the invaders realized what was happening. They launched a desperate counteroffensive, throwing everything they had at Alex and Eliana's team. The fight was brutal, with explosions and laser fire lighting up the room. But despite the odds, Alex and Eliana pressed on. They had come too far to fail now. With the charges in place, Alex and Eliana made their way to the escape route. But as they moved through the corridors, they were ambushed. The invaders had set a trap, and Alex's team was caught in the crossfire. The battle that ensued was nothing short of chaotic. The explosions from the charges were imminent, and time was running out. Alex, Eliana, and their soldiers fought with everything they had, determined to make it out alive. It was a battle of desperation, with each side fighting for its very survival. Finally, with seconds to spare, Alex and Eliana reached the escape pods. They launched themselves into space, just as the explosion rocked the mothership. The shockwave was so powerful that it rippled through the fabric of space itself. The invaders' mothership was destroyed in a brilliant display of fire and energy. It was a victory that came at a great cost, but it was a victory nonetheless. The destruction of the mothership turned the tide of the war. The invaders, without their command center, were thrown into disarray. The remaining forces scattered, retreating in a panic. The humans and Xaverians had won. The alliance that had formed in the face of adversity had proven stronger than anyone had anticipated. The invaders, once confident in their superiority, had been defeated by a combination of human bravery and Xaverian technology. In the aftermath of the battle, the humans and Xaverians celebrated their hard-earned victory. The war was over, and Earth had been saved. Alex, now a hero, stood alongside Eliana, looking out at the stars. The galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had proven that it was not to be underestimated, and the Exivarians had come to respect the strength and ingenuity of the human race. As Alex reflected on the journey that had brought him here, he realized that this victory was not just about defeating an enemy. It was about forging an alliance between two very different species, an alliance that had been born out of necessity but had grown into something much more. The Exivarians had once viewed humans as weak and insignificant, but now they saw them as equals, fierce, resilient, and capable of great things. For Alex, this victory marked the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. The war was over, but the challenges ahead would be just as difficult. But with the Exivarians by their side, humanity had proven that anything was possible. The ultimate victory had been won, and the future of Earth and the galaxy seemed brighter than ever before. The war was over, but the cost was immeasurable. As the smoke cleared over the battlefield, the once bustling lands now stood still, a somber reminder of the fierce struggle that had unfolded. The invaders were defeated, their mothership obliterated, and their forces scattered across the galaxy. But despite the triumph, there was no joy to be found in the aftermath. The price of victory had been steep, and the emotional scars of war ran deep. Alex stood amidst the battlefield, his eyes scanning the wreckage of fallen soldiers. The ground was littered with the remains of both human and Exivarian soldiers, their lifeless bodies a stark reminder of the horrors that had been endured. He had seen comrades fall in the heat of battle, their lives extinguished in an instant. The pain of losing so many weighed heavily on his heart, and for a moment, he found himself questioning if the victory was truly worth the cost. The alliance between the humans and Exivarians had been forged in blood, sweat, and tears, and now, in the quiet aftermath, it felt like the weight of it all was too much to bear. The Exivarians, once distant and dismissive of humanity, had come to see the strength and resilience of the human spirit. They had fought alongside the humans, and together they had pushed back the invaders. The alliance had been their salvation, but it had also meant sacrificing so much. Alex had lost friends, allies, and soldiers who had fought valiantly by his side. And as he stood there, surrounded by the remains of the fallen, he knew that the emotional toll of the war would never truly fade. But amidst the sorrow and loss, there was a glimmer of hope. The battle may have been over, but the war within themselves was just beginning. The humans and Exivarians had proven their strength as allies, and they now stood on the precipice of a new era. Alex knew that the future would not be easy, but he also knew that they had the strength to rebuild, to heal, and to forge a future that was brighter than the past. His thoughts were interrupted by the soft footsteps behind him. He turned to see Eliana approaching, her expression solemn but determined. She, too, had witnessed the devastation that war had left behind. But in her eyes, Alex saw something else, a quiet resolve, a sense of purpose. Despite everything they had endured, Eliana remained a beacon of strength. Eliana stopped beside him, her gaze following his to the horizon. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They stood in silence, both lost in their thoughts. The weight of the past few days hung heavily on them, but there was something comforting about the shared silence. It was as if they both understood the pain and the sacrifice, but also the promise of something better on the horizon. Finally, Alex spoke. "We did it, but at what cost?" His voice was heavy with the burden of what they had lost. Eliana looked at him, her eyes softening. "We lost so much," she said quietly, "but we won something too. We won a future, together." Alex turned to her, meeting her gaze. There was no need for further words. In that moment, they both understood the depth of the bond they had formed. It was not just forged through battle and bloodshed. It was built on mutual respect, trust, and the shared understanding that they had fought for something greater than themselves. In the chaos of war, amidst the loss and destruction, They had found something beautiful, each other. Their bond had grown stronger with each passing day, not only as comrades in arms, but as partners in the fight for a better future. They had shared their fears, their dreams, and their pain. And now, as they stood together on the battlefield, they knew that they would continue to stand side by side, no matter what the future held. The war had tested them both, but it had also shown them what they were capable of, both individually and together. As they looked out at the stars, a sense of calm washed over them. The war was over, but the journey was far from complete. They had lost so much, but they had gained so much more. The universe was vast, filled with possibilities and unknowns, but Alex and Aliana knew that they were no longer alone. The alliance between humanity and the Exaverians had created a bond that could not be broken, and together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the battlefield. The ruins of the war were still visible, but there was a sense of peace in the air. The war had scared both sides, but it had also brought them closer together. And as Alex and Aliana stood there, side by side, they could see the beginnings of a new era, a future where humanity and the Exaverians would work together, side by side, to explore the stars and protect the galaxy. In that quiet moment, as the stars began to twinkle in the sky, they knew that the future was uncertain, but it was also filled with hope. The war was over, but the real journey had just begun. Humanity had proven itself not only as a survivor, but as a force to be reckoned with. And now, with the Exaverians by their side, they would stand united, ready to face whatever challenges the universe had in store. As the night fell and the stars above twinkled brightly, Alex and Aliana shared a quiet, understanding smile. They knew that this was only the beginning. The universe had opened its doors to them, and the future was full of possibilities. Together, they would chart a new course for humanity, one filled with hope, strength, and the unwavering belief that they could overcome anything, as long as they stood together. The final shot of the story shows Earth, now fully allied with the Exaverians, beginning a new chapter in galactic politics. The once fragile planet was now a powerful force, respected by other civilizations, and ready to take its place among the stars. A new era had dawned for humanity, and the universe would never be the same again. As Alex and Aliana looked out at the stars, the story closed with a sense of anticipation. The journey ahead was unknown, but one thing was certain: the future was theirs to shape. And together, they would make it a future worth fighting for.